In his rookie season, Caleb Farley played 37 coverage snaps. He was targeted 9 times and he gave up 7 catches for 75 yards. He looked really uncomfortable. He was missing tackles, playing out of control, falling down a lot, which I've noticed all of Tennessee's corners last year fell on the ground way more than you want to see. Our very limited first impression of Caleb Farley was not good, and there's a lot riding on this year for him. Putting aside injuries, he needs to prove that he can be at minimum an average cornerback too. That at least gets him into the Adoree Jackson, Corey Davis tier of slightly disappointing first-round picks that still provided a lot of value. But his potential is a lot higher than that. I wish there were combine measurements to verify, but you'll see this year, and you can see it on his college tape, Caleb Farley's athleticism is extremely rare, especially at 6'2". So watching him in the preseason, my bar was very low to start out. He's coming off an injury. He looked really stiff and clunky last year. I just wanted to see him look fully recovered from his injury, comfortable in and out of his back pedal, basically just show that he had the footwork and discipline to not be a complete liability. And my worst case scenario fears were pretty quickly put to rest. Watching Caleb Farley move around the field, play fast and aggressive, it's hard for me to see him being an awful corner. But now the conversation shifts to Caleb Farley living up to the expectations of a first-round pick. And from the handful of snaps we've seen Caleb Farley play, we've seen him get beat twice in 2 different preseason games by Scotty Miller running a double move down the sideline. So as the weak side corner in cover 3, Caleb Farley is basically manned up on the number 1 receiver unless he runs a quick in-breaker. And I'm not sure what he's doing with his eyes here. Cornerbacks don't normally read the quarterback's eyes like a safety or a linebacker would. If they're looking at the quarterback, they're reading his drop to identify how deep of a route he needs to defend. But the point of doing that is to identify a 1-step drop and jump a quick slant or a speed out or something. So if that's what Caleb Farley's trying to do, his eyes need to be on the quarterback right when the ball is snapped. If it's anything above a 1-step drop, he needs to gain depth, and ideally he should never see the quarterback let go of the football. But Farley lets Scotty Miller get into his blind spot, loses outside leverage, and for whatever reason decides to look at the quarterback. Scotty Miller obviously keeps accelerating, and Caleb Farley loses track of him. This should never happen with Caleb Farley. He's going to get beat by shiftier receivers on quick slants and pivot routes, but the point of having a 4-3 corner with long arms is that you're not going to give up explosive plays down the field. Speaking of shifty receivers, it's 3rd and 10. Farley's impressed man on Jalen Darden, who was available at the time that Tennessee traded up for Des Fitzpatrick. Farley wants to prevent an outside release here because if he's going to get beat early, it'll be on a deep out. Joshua Kalu is playing robber safety and he'd be in good position to crash on a quick inbreaker. So it's not as big of a deal that he's so jumpy reacting to Darden's outside jab, but a cornerback's base should never be this narrow. And with press coverage, I like to just go frame by frame and say, is the cornerback in a better position now than he was 2 steps ago? So the false step with the right foot does nothing to protect the outside, and it leaves Farley vulnerable to an inside release. And then instead of kick stepping, staying in front, and forcing a lateral release, he hop steps, and all it really takes is 1 step to create a good amount of separation. Still, it's 3rd and 10, so it's not a huge deal to allow this inside release, but you want to stay out of recovery mode as much as possible. He does a good job regaining his position, and he establishes contact with the outside shoulder at the sticks. Number 1, to close off a deep out, and second, it makes it way easier to anticipate the route break if you can feel it happening instead of just watching for it. Probably a PI or holding by the rulebook, although I did see they were lightening up on those penalties, so we'll see what that looks like. But still really good to see a pass breakup, even if there are some technique issues to fix. I don't have any conclusions on Caleb Farley at this point. He's still completely unproven. He doesn't have to be a finished product this season, but he needs to stay healthy, and I would say at least match what Jackrabbit Jenkins did last year. Make sure to subscribe if you aren't already. Check us out on all our social media, and let me know in the comments what player or team you want me to break down.